My name is Gary Routh. I was born in July 1976, and where I am right now is San Diego, California. I'm 38 years old, I'm married, and I have 2 young kids. My daughter's about to be 5, and my son is 6.5. I was born in Bakersfield, California, and I was raised there, and then I moved a bit in high school, and my family moved to Texas. And so my mom and dad and my sisters, they all live out there now. Most of my grandparents have passed away at this point. My grandma's still alive. She's in Texas too. So all of my family lives in Texas. But I love San Diego, so I live here.
Yeah. Do you know about your family ancestral ethnic background?
I don't. My last name is spelled R-O-U-T-H, but it was originally R-U-T-H. My grandfather was raised by another family, so he had used their last name. But when he joined the Navy in World War II to fight, they said, no, you got to use your real last name. So he said, okay, it's Routh. And somehow that got written down as R-O-U-T-H. And so when he got his ID cards and his uniforms and everything that he had was spelled R-O-U-T-H, and it just stuck. So I have no idea. No, I'm thinking maybe English. It's an English name, but I don't know anything about my ancestry.
Can you tell me about your educational background, schools up to the moment when you joined the military?
Sure. I joined the military straight out of high school. I didn't do that well in high school because my mind wandered a lot, and I was bored by what they were teaching, so it was hard for me to focus, and my grades weren't that good. So I wanted to. I was bored. It was suburban living, you know. We lived in a nice house in nice suburbs, nice high school, nice family, and it was all very boring to me. I wanted to get out and see the world. So I thought, I'll join the Army. Or I thought, well, my grades aren't good enough for college anyway, so if I go to school, I could get money for college, and that'll give me some time to go out and explore the world before I have to go do that. So I talked to the recruiter, and he came up with a linguist thing. You could be a linguist and learn another language. And at the time, I thought it'd be neat to learn Arabic so that I wanted to be an archaeologist. That was my dream when I was a kid. So I thought I could learn Arabic, and then I could travel around Egypt and all those places and do archaeology. And that was it. I mean, it wasn't a very good reason, but I had nothing else going on, so I thought I'll do that. I went to basic training, and then I showed up to the language school. It was late at night, and I just somebody had driven me from the airport, and we drove around until we found a building with a light on. And some sergeant came out, and he looked at my orders, and I said, yeah, I'm here to learn Arabic, but I don't know where to go. And he said, no, you're here to learn Korean. I said, no, I'm here to learn Arabic. And he corrected me again. He goes, no, you're here to learn Korean. He's looking at my orders. I was like, yeah, but I picked Arabic. And he said, this is the Army, son. You don't pick. And that was it. So I joined in 1994. And so it was 1996 when I arrived in Korea. Summer of 1996, like June or July.
All right, 1994, June or July. So
94 is when I joined the Army, and 96 is when I arrived in Korea.
Got it.
And I left in 98,
Right.
June of 98.
So when you arrived, what was your military rank unit? What did you call it?
So I was an Army soldier, and my rank was either E3, private first class, or E4 specialist. I think it was E3, and I think I got promoted to specialist right after I got there, E4. Mm-hmm. So I was an E3 when I showed up, and right away I got promoted. My military occupational specialty, MOS, which is just your job. There's a code for each job, and mine was 98G-KP. So the 98G, 98 golf, meant linguist, and then the KP was the 2-letter code for Korean. That's how the guy, when he looked at my orders, knew I was there to learn Korean, and how I didn't, because I didn't know KP meant Korean. So 98 golf. And then I was assigned to the 751st Military Intelligence Battalion, which was part of the 501st Military Intelligence Brigade, which then falls under 8th Army, USFK.
I see.
So 751st, they're not there anymore. That unit has gone away.
And you said you arrived in Yongsan, that was where you were stationed?
No, that's just where I was in process. The next day, they put us on a bus to Gyeonggi-do, Pyeongtaek-si, Anjongni. They call it K6, I think, was the area. I don't know what those numbers mean, but K6, and that was Camp Humphreys, Korea.
And your main duties were?
My job was to listen to North Koreans talk on the radio, the ground units. I don't think this is a secret. I think everybody knows what this is. I mean, they told me when I signed up that you listen to North Koreans talk on the radio, and they would just do radio checks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear me? Yes, I hear you fine. You know, stuff like that. Just it was the North Korean soldiers out with their radios, lugging them around on their back and stuff, doing radio checks and all that stuff all day. Sometimes they did more. They would do practice artillery fires or sometimes live artillery fires, and those were fun. They would yell SWAT, which is like fire, SWAT, and then they hold the microphone when you hear, oh, that's cool. But a lot of times there was nobody on the radio at all, and it got boring really quick. Just sit in a room with a bunch, a couple other folks, and you're just scrolling through radio stations essentially, and eventually you'd come across North Korean saying 1, 2, 3, 4, radio check. And that was about it. So it was exciting at first. Like the first time I heard like a real live North Korean on the radio, remember at first it was so exciting. Like, oh my God, that's a North Korean right there. He's talking on the radio and I can hear it. I'm gonna record it. I gotta type what they're saying. But then, after 2 years, that's why I got out. I thought I can't make a career of this. This is driving me crazy. Because it's just like anything. It doesn't change that much from day to day. So all the stuff the North Koreans do didn't change that much from day to day. It was always the same radio checks. And so pretty soon I got to where I could probably do it in my sleep. And so I got out. It's like I could go do something else in my life.
Yeah, did you work with other people while you were there?
Koreans, yeah. There was Koreans in our shop. There was Katusas, which is Korean augment to the United States Army, so it's one long acronym, KATUSA. And they were usually college educated, and they were sort of embedded with the U.S. Army, so they wore U.S. Army uniforms. Navy KATUSAs probably wore Navy uniforms, I don't know, it was just Army, right? And they lived with us in our barracks, and they ate with us at our chow hall, and they worked with us. And they were supposed to be that link between the Korean forces and the U.S. forces, that bridge, sort of like a liaison. Some of them spoke English really well, and some of them not so well. But for me, being young and being interested in Korean stuff, like those KATUSAs were the guys that could take me out, and they would take me to their houses to meet their parents and stuff like that. And they would show me around Seoul and stuff. So I got along with them really well. I heard others didn't. Because of the cultural differences just between Korean men and American men, these young American men being like 17, 18, 19, 20 years old could be from anywhere in the United States, and they don't know anything about Koreans and Korean culture and stuff like that. And a lot of the stuff that the Korean guys did was weird to them. Like guys bathing each other in the shower and sleeping on the floor sometimes because they didn't like the bed, it was too hard, or they'd sit there and cook ramen on the floor and eat it, and slurping food and all that stuff. It was so foreign. And then the way the Americans behaved was really, really foreign to the Korean guys too. Loud, obnoxious, bad language, kind of roughhousing, rough behavior. So I've heard from a lot of other people that KATUSA and American GI relationships weren't that good. I heard it from a lot of people. But for us, I think because the linguists had been trained for so long about Korean stuff, at least the language, we were a little bit more ready for it when we got there. But I think they did it, maybe it's better now, but at the time they didn't do a good job of introducing GIs to what Korea was going to be like and what Korean people were like, because of course it's going to be different. It's on the other side of the world. All that customs and stuff like that. So it could be different now, but GIs would go out in town or even to Seoul and act like complete animals from a Korean point of view, whereas to a GI's point of view, they probably weren't doing anything like that big of a deal, but like just being loud, walking down the street and goofing with your buddies, like that's something we do. And where if you were walking down the street of San Diego and you see some guys kind of being loud and you don't really think much about it, but over in Korea, they were like, oh, these guys are loud, obnoxious, rude, because they don't know Korean culture and all that stuff. And that created, I think, a lot of tension.
Can you tell me about your living condition and how much were you paid while you were there?
I was enlisted, lower enlisted, so I don't remember the dollar amount, but it wasn't a lot of money. But I didn't really have a house payment or anything to make. I lived in the barracks, and I ate at the chow hall for free. So any money that I made, I guess I had a few like credit card bills or something, but most of it was just for goofing off and traveling around. So I didn't make a lot of money, but any money that I did make was just spent on fun stuff. Living conditions, our barracks were old and worn down, and I don't even think the air conditioning worked. So in the summer it was brutal, and in the winter it was pretty cold. Yeah, half the toilets in the bathrooms didn't work, and yeah, it was almost like living in a ghetto. I think people felt like it was like living in a ghetto because the buildings were so old and run down, and old mattresses and everything. It wasn't a good place to live as far as that goes. Some people lived off base. They pooled their money together and they'd rent a house off base, and then they didn't have to meet the curfew and be in at a certain time, and they could just do whatever they wanted. But for the rest of us living there, yeah, it wasn't that great. I shared a room. You know, when I got that's just a bird. When I got promoted to sergeant, I got to move into my own room in the sergeant's barracks, and that was a little bit better. It was nicer. The officers' quarters were really nice. I think they've demolished those buildings now. They've done a lot of improvements to that place now. There was a flooding in, I think, 98 to those barracks that I was living in, where it just completely flooded out the entire first floor, and people's stuff got destroyed, and after that, I think they may have just torn down the building. But no, it was kind of depressing living there. We didn't care about, had no sense of, I need to take care of this place because this is my home, because it was so crappy. That's probably why, we probably left a lot to go out, to go do something else, to go out in the Ville. They called it the Ville, to go drinking, because there's no point in hanging out at home. The place sucks. People would decorate the rooms as much as they could, but at the same time, it was kind of like it was fun because all of your friends, which is kind of like your family, they all lived there too. And so there was always like kind of somebody to hang out with. You could start going down the hall, knocking on doors to see if anybody wanted to hang out or go get chow together. And so that was kind of fun. Or every time you go eat chow, there's somebody in the chow hall that there's always somebody to sit with and stuff like that. So it was fun. It was social. The social aspect of it's fun, walking in and out and just knowing all these people. And there's something about it that I like. I guess there's probably aspects of it that I dislike, that I'm just not comfortable with because it's not who I am, like going to Mogyoktam and just hanging out there for a couple hours. Like me, I just want to shower and leave, and they want to sit there. Bath. Yeah, public bath, and they want to scrub you and do all this stuff, and I'm like, man, just get me out of here. So that kind of stuff, just little things, but that I probably never would get used to. But I think for the most part, I will always enjoy Korean culture, and I'm not into K-pop per se, but I'm happy that so many people are. I think it's neat that it's popular, to see so many people liking it. So even though it doesn't do much for me, I still think it's really cool that so many people are into it, and the dramas and stuff like that. It's neat to see people that aren't GIs and that have an interest in Korea, not because the army didn't give them a choice, but they just found it and thought it was neat. And they like watching the shows and all that stuff. That is so cool to me. I love that. I'm really, really, really glad. Happy about it. Yeah.
Last question. Message to younger generations, meaning maybe even to the GIs that will be going now or are there now, or maybe just overall younger generation, as someone who has experience being in Korea, representing someone in the middle of the U.S. and Korea ties. Yeah. Anything that you want to say?
If you're out there, you're going to be stuck there for a year, one way or the other. So you can be miserable for a year, or you can go out and have the time of your life and explore and learn new things and all that stuff. There's plenty of miserable people when I was out there that felt sorry for themselves, and they got drunk every night, and not bad people, but they let themselves be miserable. Don't hang out with those guys. Go find the one or two people that love going on trips and are interested in Korean stuff, and hang out with them instead. You're going to have more fun that way, and you'll wind up being one of those people that knows how to go out on the train and discover and explore and learn a few Korean words. Just a couple of Korean words will make somebody smile, even if you say it wrong. It makes people feel good. It'll make you feel good. So go out and explore and have fun, and don't be afraid to make mistakes and do things wrong, because you will have the best time of your life if you do that.